and blessed love. Welcome back to the Story of Man Vibe, the Story of Man podcast. My name is Andre O. Ferguson, and it is a pleasure to be here again with you. This video is coming a bit late this week because I've been mad busy trying to make my wife's garden and all other sorts of things that we are trying to accomplish here. We've also been a fantastic week so far, so I give thanks to the Most High God for the blessings that He's bestowing upon my life. Today is another quick video, again specifically to my brothers, and again specifically to try and help us as men improve ourselves so we can be better for our wives, so hopefully our wives can also be better for us and will benefit from the best of ourselves. Again, I am an advocate for men, simply because the world sees us as a problem as opposed to the solution to a lot of the ills that are in society today. All societal and social ills can be traced back, almost all, to fatherlessness or the lack of proper parenting from a father. And this is no joke. This is a real thing. This is my life's work. This is what I believe is my mission given to me by God, to go forth and try and encourage men to be better men for ourselves, for our family, for our children. I do that in two ways: by trying to impact young men. So I do this as Story of Man camp within schools, and I also do this with relationship and life coaching and hopefully mentoring as well. So if you need any of those things, just reach out to me. I'll be more than happy to talk, but I am more about trying to help the whole man. So I do that also through physical exercise and experiences where that is concerned. So without further ado, let's jump into today's topic. Today's topic is about, and I will glance at my screen so I'm not rambling on, because I am passionate about this stuff, and I do tend to ramble on when I'm passionate about something. So these are steps to take when you feel like you're drifting away from your partner, your wife, your girlfriend. These are steps that we need to take in order to redress that balance, in order to make sure that we are trying to make our relationship work. And I know, guys, a lot of the times it's really difficult. Our beautiful women or wives or girlfriends or partners can sometimes be challenging, but that's the whole point. Relationships are challenging. When two people come together, they are flawed individuals. We're all flawed individuals, and we try to come together to make a relationship out of two flawed people, and that will inevitably create problems, create discontent, create disagreements, create that sort of thing. So the tools we need to put in our toolbox are the tools that help us to then confront these problems and find solutions to these problems. As the Chelsea coach says, it's about giving them problems and affording them the ability to work out those problems for themselves. So what we need to do as men within our relationships, as leaders of our homes, as priests in our family, is work out the problems and try to find a solution to these problems. So I'm going to give you 4 ways today, 4 quick tips on how you can deal with trying not to drift away from your partners. So 4 ways in which you can redress the problem of drifting away from your wife, from your girlfriend, or from your partner. And again, if any of you out there are married, marriage is a covenant, right? And it is difficult. Again, two flawed people coming together to try and make marriage work is difficult at the best of times. So we have to be convicted in ourselves that the marriage is the most important thing. And I'm speaking specifically about marriage just a little bit, because marriage is a covenant that you make for life. But in today's society, 50% of people get divorced. And that's just simply because one or two of you just don't want to fight. Right? You just don't want to fight. She's messed up, he's messed up, and you don't want to forgive, you don't want to move on, you don't want to confront the problem, you don't want to deal with it, you don't want to talk because you're hurt and you're in your feelings, and your feelings govern the choices that you make. Within a relationship, your feelings cannot, and I repeat, cannot govern the choices that you make. Your marriage or your relationship has to govern the choices that you make. And if your marriage or your relationship governs the choices that you make, then inevitably you will make better choices, better decisions, and you will have a longer, more successful relationship. Because when you are in your feelings, you tend to make poor decisions. Anger is the enemy of correct understanding. And a lot of the times we are angry or hurt or whatever, and we choose to make decisions in those moments. And that's exactly the wrong thing to do. What you have to do is deal with your anger, because it's real. You're hurt, you're in pain, you're angry, whatever the case may be. So deal with that first. And after you've dealt with that, after you've calmed down a little bit, then you try and have a more constructive conversation, with the priority being the ability to agree with each other to try and find a solution together, right? And that's just my rant at the beginning of this conversation. So when you're drifting away from your partner, the first thing you need to do is confront the issue, right? A lot of the times, as men especially, we tend to run away from the problem, or we tend to not talk, because a lot of us are with wives or girlfriends or partners that want to talk all the time, and sometimes we just don't want to talk. We want some peace, we want some space, we want to just sit with our thoughts, and she wants to talk, and that gets you more and more frustrated. We draw more and more into our shells, we draw more and more into our safe space, wherever that is, whether that's at the football pitch. If you drink, that's at the pub. Don't drink, because drinking is bad for you. Or, if you're like me, you go to the beach, or you go for a walk, or you work out, right? So you do your thing, you do the thing that keeps you happy or makes you feel safe or prevents you going to have a confrontation with this partner of yours, because it's a problem. But what you have to do is confront the problem and not your spouse. So when you have a problem with your spouse, you confront the problem. And there's a loving way to do that. Remember, women need to feel loved all the time. And even if you're in a confrontational situation, you need to show her that you still love her. You're angry with her right now, you're hurt by what she did, or whatever the case may be, but you still love her. And you need to show her that love, even in trying to correct and confront the problem that she has, or you have with her, or that you have together. Right? And that's how you do that. You confront the problem. You go to her, you say, baby, you know what? At the end of the day, what you said last night was hurtful to me, and I didn't really like how you said it as well. Is it possible that you can speak to me with a more respectful tone and a more respectful attitude? Because that's what we need. If you talk down to me, I'm going to draw back in my shell. I'm not going to talk to you because I just feel disrespected by the way you're talking to me. That's just one example. So if you're trying to love her, even though you're hurt, if she loves you, will see that you're trying and will in turn try. So confront the problem. When you're drifting away from your spouse, first thing you need to do is confront it. Okay? Next thing you need to do is find the source of said problem. Why is this happening? So not the reactions, not the consequences of the problem. And a lot of the times in a relationship, we deal with the consequences of the problem. It's like going to the doctor, you have a headache and they give you a Panadol. That's not the solution to your problem. You're treating the consequence of the headache. Why are you having a headache? You may be stressed. You might not be drinking enough water. Your diet might be poor. Where you work might be a problem. All of these things are sources, root causes of the problem. So when you're in a conflict, when you're drifting away from your partner, you need to confront the source. Go to the source of the problem. Why do you think you're drifting away from this woman that you committed to love? If you don't deal with the source, you're going to continue to drift. If you just deal with the consequences of your actual problem, you're never going to solve the problem. And the actual problem is just going to keep reinventing itself like racism. I won't go there. But that's a real thing, right? So you need to be able to confront the actual source of your problem. Don't redesign it. Don't make it look like something else. Confront the source, the seed, the root of the actual problem. Not the root, the seed. The actual source of the problem is where you need to look. Not, oh, she's doing this and she's saying this and she's talking like this. And those are consequences of the actual problem. She may not feel as though you're loving her. She may not feel appreciated by you. She may not feel like you communicate enough. And you in turn might have other problems with her. But none of you are dealing with that. And that cultivates resentment. And once you build up resentment within your relationship, it's very, very difficult to come back from that, because that equals a lack of trust. You then don't trust this person because all you trust them to do is hurt you or disrespect you or not appreciate you. And this goes for men and women as well. So find the source of your problem. The next thing you need to do is talk it out. Talk it out, because if you do not communicate, and there's an old adage, when you raise children, it's example, example, example. The way I was raised was not like that. You would constantly hear, oh, children should be seen and not heard. Nothing could be further from the truth. Children need to be heard. They need to be understood. You need to make sure that you're understanding their needs and wants and desires, fears and cares, and everything that affects their little lives. Just because they're young doesn't mean they don't have problems. And in the world we live in today, 40% of 16 to 17-year-olds suffer from mental illnesses. That is simply because nobody is focusing on their actual problem. This is a real thing. We need to be able to focus on the actual problem. When we focus on the actual problem, then we need to communicate. Communicate, communicate, communicate. Raising children is example. Building a relationship is communication, communication, communication. It solves every single problem you have. There is no problem within your relationship that you will not be able to solve by communication. Communicate, whether it is to stay together or to separate. Because sometimes people stay together for all the wrong reasons, simply because they have a house together, they've got business together, too much money tied up, and they decide, okay, you know what, it's best I just stay, but you're doing your thing, I'm doing my thing, and that's just terrible. It's a terrible, terrible, terrible idea. We need to actually value relationships and what they bring to our lives. They bring joy, they bring happiness, they bring peace, they bring a sense of release of stress. This is where you can go to as your safe space. Your wife, your husband should be the person that you value to protect you, to love you, to share with, to grow with, to build with. And if you're just there as a sense of obligation, then that's a problem. You need a new relationship. Big man thing. So communicate. If you communicate within your relationship, we don't value the art of communication enough. And let's break down communication. The way I like to communicate may not be the way my wife likes to communicate. They're two different things, and we need to understand that, okay? If my wife likes to talk a lot, okay, there has to be times when I afford her the opportunity to talk a lot. Sometimes I say to my wife, okay, how was your day? Give me the short version, please. And she'll give me the short version. There's other times when I just ask her, how was your day? And she'll tell me every single detail of the day. Now, I don't like that, but that's what she needs to do at that time. So I need to give her the opportunity to do that at least sometimes. Whereas we compromise. So there's times when I'll say, okay, baby, give me the short version. And she'll give me her whole day in 5 minutes. She'll summarize it. So we compromise. I'm trying to affect her. I'm trying to accommodate what she needs to do, and she's in turn trying to accommodate what I try to do. The way I like to communicate, I like deep conversations. Deep, meaningful conversations. I hate chit chat. I don't like it. I don't understand it. I don't know why people need to do it, but it is what some people like to do, and it makes them happy and it makes them feel good. And that's okay too. Just because I don't understand it doesn't mean it doesn't need to be done. I'm different. I like to just talk about things that are important and big and deep. Some of my friends say, bro, you're too serious. Why are you always so serious? It's not serious. I just see life as problems to be solved, and that also can be a problem. So I need balance. I can't just look at problems to be solved all the time and try to solve every problem within my relationship by myself without my wife. I need to be able to communicate with her the way she needs to be communicated to, value her needs and her wants, and impact her in a way that will make her feel loved, understood, and appreciated. That's what communication does. If you have a problem in your relationship, if you communicate in the right way, I guarantee you that you will more quickly get to the solution, to the seed of that problem, as opposed to, example, if you're going to say you're sorry, right? And you rock up to your wife or your husband and you go, sorry. I'm going to look at you like, what? Yeah, sorry. What is that? But if you come and you say, can you please tell me what your actual problem is? I would really like to know what your problem is. I am sorry for hurting you. I want to know what your problem is so I can redress that. I can address that problem if I am the cause of that problem. That is a genuine apology. Not only is it a genuine apology, you're looking for ways to move forward in a nice, positive way, respectful way, because you're respecting the fact that I actually don't like you right now. Me not like you right now. Me have a problem with you right now. And if you don't deal with my problem, there's no reason for me to talk to you. None whatsoever. And if you threaten me like, oh, I don't need to talk to you, me not talk to you, or whatever the case may be, cool, I don't need to talk to you. A lot of women need to recognize that men, we don't mind not talking. We don't mind. So if you decide, say, you're not talk to me, cool, I'm cool. But if you decide that it is important that we talk, and this goes both ways, as a man, if I decide, you know what, I don't necessarily need to talk to you, but I'm going to choose to talk to you because that is what is required within our relationship at this time. If we are drifting apart, we need to communicate. And it might be hard. Sometimes the conversations we have aren't necessarily the conversations we want to hear, but they're the conversations that need to be had. And if we have the tough conversations, in the conflict situations, when we're drifting apart, then that will bring us closer together, because it shows that we are aware that we are drifting apart, shows that we have a desire to bring us closer together, and it shows that we are willing to find an agreement. So communicate, may I beg you, please. There is no other way to solve a problem than to communicate. As men, we like to fix things. So we feel like, okay, if I do this, I can fix it. But you're not talking to her, you're not talking to your girl, you're not talking to your wife. It's not gonna work, because what she needs most is to know that you care. And the only way to do that is to communicate. And women, ladies, wives, girlfriends, it is exactly the same the other way around, sisters. Exact. Not for uno go on like say we don't have feelings. Not for uno. Uno need to know we have feelings too. And they are just as important as yours. So when you hurt us, when you ignore our needs and wants and go, oh, he don't feel nothing because he not say nothing, that's exactly the reason we drift away from you, because you are showing you don't care about our feelings. So I beg you, communicate. I need communication, you need communication. So let's be equal and communicate and make sure that we value our relationship above our feelings. Lastly, we need to make changes, okay? When we do all the other things, we confront it, right? We communicate. We need now to make sure we are making the adjustments. I watched Anthony Joshua fight the other night, and first 3 rounds he got battered. The other 3 rounds he made a few adjustments, but the other guy was just quicker, faster, a more acute boxer. He had more ring craft and more acumen than he did in the ring, and he just couldn't adjust, right? What we need to be able to do is adjust ourselves when we find the seed of the problem, when we have identified that communication is the key, when we realize that we need to make changes. This is when we realize that we need to make changes. So make changes, make the right changes. Find out from your spouse what it is that they need from you. What do you need from me? How can I be better for you? Why don't we ask these questions? Big man thing. Why don't we ask these questions? Them questions are important. If me don't know what you want, me can't give it to you. It's impossible. Me can't give it to you. No time at all. Why don't we ask the questions? Okay, baby, today, what do you need from me? Yesterday, what could I have done better? In this conflict situation we had last month, how do you think I could have managed that situation better for you? You have to do that for yourself. You have to hold yourself accountable. And men, we need to hold ourselves to a much higher standard than we do. This is a real thing, right? Too many of us are too slack in our abilities to recognize our responsibilities within our relationship. Our responsibilities are vast. They're massive. Because we're not only responsible for our feelings and for the feelings of our wives, we're responsible for our children if we have some. We're also responsible for the consequences of the actions we take or don't take. All of these things are our responsibility. So we need to hold ourselves to a higher standard. We can't buck at every problem. We have to stand up and fight. Stand up and fight the cause like a man. If you want to be called a man, you have to fight like a man. It's not right that we just give up, or we just, sulk, or whatever the case may be. We need to hold ourselves to a higher standard. And that's the first change I think men need to make necessarily, to make sure that we are doing what we need to do in order to accomplish what we want to accomplish within our relationships and make our relationships successful. So whatever the problems you identify through communication, whatever the problems you identify through the deep communication that you're going to do with your spouse, you need to now adjust and make changes. It's different for every relationship, but through communication, through understanding, you'll identify the problems. And once you identify the problems, then you need to make the changes necessary to make sure that your relationship works. Yes, I hope this was helpful to you. Again, I really don't want to rant on, because I can, it's very possible. So I hope this was helpful to you. 4 tips to do, 4 things to do when you feel like you're drifting away from your wife, your girlfriend, your partner. And ladies, is exactly the same for you. But as you know, my goal, my mission is to help my brothers, but I'm sure this will help you as well, because it's exactly the same. If you feel like you're drifting away from your husband, your boyfriend, you need to do these 4 things. 1, confront it. 2, find a source. 3, communicate. And 4, make changes, make adjustments. And I guarantee you these will make sure that you have at least the right steps forward to make your relationship better and to have a successful, healthy relationship, which is what we all want and desire and need. So without further ado, enough love, enough respect. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope this was helpful. Please let me know, man. Tell me in the comments. Send me a message on Instagram if you have any questions, if you have any topics that you think I should discuss on here, because I'm here to serve. And until next time, write your own story. Blessed.